Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's office, Dave Yost. Ryan's going to be talking about sweetheart and romance scams, so stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's office, Dave Yost. And today you have a really good topic since we're right around the area of Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. What we see throughout the year, but what we tend to build public awareness about during Valentine's Day and Sweetest Day and all those romantic holidays is the romance scam, or also called the sweetheart scam. And there are scammers, unfortunately, lurking in all crevices of the internet. And with dating services gone online, they are there with their profiles. They are in chat rooms. They are in bulletin boards. They are everywhere that legitimate people are, but they're out there to scam you. So when you're motivated to meet someone special, that is when you're particularly vulnerable to con artists looking to take advantage of that situation. So it's important to protect your heart and your hard-earned money by watching out for the sweetheart or online romance scams.
You know, Ryan, you were mentioning some interesting statistics. Last year, what did the Attorney General's office find out through some of their responses?
Yeah, during 2022, we had 35 Ohioans report sweetheart scams to the Attorney General's office. But listen to this. The losses totaled almost $1.8 million. And so some people lost an awful lot of money. Now, 35 is obviously a low figure because these scams are underreported. A lot of victims are squeamish, or they're embarrassed or ashamed to admit that they got duped into giving a stranger money and giving them personal information. And they may not turn to us. They may report it to the Federal Trade Commission or the local police department. So we're only seeing probably a little smidge of the actual consumer sweetheart scams that are actually out there in Ohio and across the country.
Are you finding that it is more women that get scammed than men? Is it equal? You know, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, victims of sweetheart scams really don't follow a definite pattern. I mean, they may be male or female, they may be young or old. The common denominator is the victim or potential victim believes in love and they believe the romance is legitimate. And the scammer might look up a profile of someone in the public eye, or they may have just gotten photos and stories passed down through other scammers that have been successful using someone else's information. So it could be they say that they're a businessman traveling out of the country and they work for a big company and they're an executive. Or it could be they're a military officer stationed overseas and they're actually, they're claiming to be an American citizen. Or they could say they're an oil contractor that's offshore but looking to come back to the United States when they're done with their rig. So the stories vary, but usually they are recycled. Usually they use pass-me-down photos and pass-me-down profiles that have been on other dating websites and in other victims' computers throughout the ages.
Well, one of the things that I found is when you're dealing with someone's heart, it's very difficult to really believe that you are being scammed. And it really takes a lot to wake the person up, if you want to say that.
Absolutely. And one thing that fools with people's hearts is the fact that scammers have learned that they might have to spend hours communicating with a victim before asking for money. So they might request money right away, but a lot of times they're going to lead you on and they're going to get your heart involved over a period of time, whether it's days, weeks, months, but eventually they're going to request money for something. They're going to request airfare to come visit you as their love interest. They're going to want you to pay for a hospital bill, or they're going to want you to access an inheritance that they supposedly have available to them, and they'll pay you back as soon as they get back to the United States. Really, the only thing the scammer is telling you that's true is that they're out of the country, because usually they are claiming to be and actually are out of the country. Certainly, there are also, I'm sure, domestic perpetrators as well. So I'm not saying they're all out of the country, but we see a lot of countries like Nigeria and Jamaica and Ghana. We see a lot of countries having a, I suppose, disproportionate number of perpetrators of these and other kinds of consumer scams.
If you're out of the country, how are you able to find your victim?
Well, I mean, they can get on otherwise legitimate websites and put in dating profiles. And the internet is so global these days, they can even call you for pennies on the dollar. I mean, it's very inexpensive now to create profiles, to join, websites. Some are even free. Some of the dating websites are free to join and browse, so they can do it for free. Otherwise, they may have to use a stolen credit card, or they may have to use somebody else's money to fund the bill. But no matter what, they're going to leave the victim duped and brokenhearted. So, but they will get on websites that you would otherwise have to pay for. And to think that these websites are all doing a perfectly good job, 100% perfect job of vetting, is probably not accurate. I mean, there's got to be scammers out there somewhere getting through, and it's legitimate and difficult to, it's legitimate and illegitimate websites that they may be out there to scout their victims.
I'm really amazed at how much many different social programs keep information on you. Like, for instance, Facebook is one. We're very liberal, oftentimes, with personal information, whether
Absolutely.
it's just the dogs or our pets, our children, where they've been, where they're going, etc.
And then some people use that information as their password, or some people use that information as, reset question for their password. So not only are you vulnerable to romance scams, but you're vulnerable to computer hacking and things like that as well, if you don't have complex passwords for all your websites and your apps and your programs.
When you do get on various different programs, they want personal information. For instance, let's start with simple games. They want personal information. Or if you order online from one of the stores, they have personal information. And at one time I did a track of who I was on the internet, and there was something like 37 different places that had my name.
Oh, I believe it. Absolutely. And for those that may be widows, for those that may be suffering a loss and finally getting back into a routine, getting into the dating scene even a little bit, they're particularly vulnerable. And we've seen that victims are usually asked to send money through one of the payment methods that we would consider to be ripe for scams. And that includes gift cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfers, money orders, prepaid cards, peer-to-peer payment methods. So those are usually hard to trace. And once the money is sent, it's nearly impossible to recover. So we always have warned people, consumers in Ohio, about anybody asking you to use Western Union or MoneyGram or to go buy a prepaid money card or go buy a gift card at a store. Gift cards are for gifts. Gift cards are not to conduct business other than at the store you bought the gift card from. So if somebody is asking you to repay a debt or asking you to pay a hospital bill and wants it in gift cards, they're up to no good. They're using that for their personal benefit, most likely. There's probably not even a disaster or not even a hospital bill to be paid. They're simply using that as an excuse to line their pockets.
How does the sweetheart or romance scam work?
Well, the first thing is, how do they scope out their victims? I mean, and a lot of times they put together a photo that shows a handsome, very well-to-do professional. They put together a profile that makes it sound like it's almost too good to be true. I mean, they're not necessarily going to all be over the top because they've probably learned that if you say you're Bill Gates, the people are probably going to be pretty suspect of you if you're that obvious. But they may choose to be a CEO of a smaller company or someone that's less in the public eye, but they're going to claim to have boatloads of money. They're going to claim to be in another state or another country. Often, often they're pretending to be a military member stationed overseas or a business person working outside the U.S. And they might send fake photos or documentation to try to prove their identity. But all that information is either passed down from other scammers, confiscated from someone, lost, stolen. They'll do whatever it takes to make you believe that destiny has brought you guys together. And sometimes they'll even say that. They'll say, well, I know it's destiny that brought us together. You're in need of love. I'm in need of love. Let's get together and do this deal, which means get married or get engaged or take it the next step forward. But before that happens, usually there's a family emergency that intervenes, a concocted story where they're going to try to get money out of you through a debit card or a preloaded money card, gift card, cryptocurrency, PayPal. Something is going to trigger them to ask for money. And that's the whole point of this exercise, is to get money from unsuspecting victims. But in this case, there are people that are especially vulnerable, people looking for love. And so they could even look at, think of all the obituaries we see in the daily newspaper, just in our town. All those people, most of them have surviving spouses that all become vulnerable to these types of scams. And if it's not a dating scam, it could be just a friendship type scam. But for the most part, we see phony profiles on dating websites or social media as a way of attracting unsuspecting victims.
35 individuals that reported being scammed. Is there one main theme, or is it run the gauntlet of ways in which they've been scammed out of money?
Well, I'll give you a couple examples that are pretty textbook. In one instance, a Muskingum County woman sent $15,000 to a man she met on social media who pretended to be a member of the military in need of an emergency medical procedure. And the scam was detected when the woman contacted the Army Investigative Unit, was informed that no such person existed. Another sweetheart scam, a Mercer County man refinanced loans and sold property in order to send $200,000 to a woman he met on social media, money that he has never been able to recover. So there you see two different parts of Ohio. We're a pretty diverse state. Muskingum County, Mercer County, tens of thousands of dollars at risk with one man getting scammed by a woman and one woman getting scammed by a man. One's a military story that was false, and one, was not, but I don't believe. But these are cases where the culprit, the perpetrator, knew exactly what they were doing. They were tugging at the heartstrings and captured these two vulnerable Ohioans into a sweetheart scam or romance scam. And the bottom line is that that one man is out $200,000 and a woman is out $15,000. And a lot of times these scammers won't stop till you finally realize that you're being scammed. They'll keep going to the well for more and more requests for more and more money. They'll even ask sometimes for cell phones. They'll want you to buy them a smartphone. Those alone can cost $800 to $1,200 sometimes. So they'll ask for gifts. They'll ask for information about you. They'll ask for just cold, hard cash. They might even send you flowers one day. Who knows what they're going to do, but it's all worth it to them in their mind because they are able to get a lot more money back from you than they've actually provided.
So if I feel I've been scammed, what are my steps? What should I do?
Well, the first things first, you definitely should give a call to the Ohio Attorney General's office and stop communicating with the potential scammer. Our phone number is 800-282-0515. That's 800-282-0515. And our website is www.ohioprotects, plural, ohioprotects.org. O-R-G. So first thing is to report it, to start telling people and making sure that you don't give them any more of your money. And it is possible, not likely, but possible that if you expose them in time to the authorities and to the payment mechanism you used to pay the money, there's a small likelihood of actually them stopping the transaction before the scammer goes into a local grocery store or a local convenience store to pick up the money if it's a wire transfer or something like that. Or maybe stopping the gift card transaction before he can cash out, so to speak. So there's a small likelihood of getting money back if you catch it in time. But we want to hear these stories from people so we can help educate other people as well. So when we go on the road to educate Ohioans, there's millions of people out there that may not even know about the romance scam or the sweetheart scam. We want to educate people so some of these stories help inform other people so they don't get caught in the same swindle.
The state of Ohio Attorney General's office is very proactive when it comes to various different scams. And I know that you do your best to keep track and to assist whenever you can. But it's my understanding if there's a law that is broken, do you have jurisdiction or do you turn that over to the police or the community or?
Well, it depends. I mean, most of our jurisdiction and consumer protection issues are civil, not criminal, but we do have an economic crimes unit that joins together with county prosecutors, sheriff's departments, local law enforcement to go the criminal route. But a lot of times these folks can't be, they're overseas and they're essentially untouchable by the resources that we have available. So we really caution consumers and give them some tips, which I'll give to you now, of how to stop these romance scams from happening, how to stop being a victim. First step is to research people you meet online. Don't rely solely on what they tell you. Conduct internet searches. There's a way to even do a reverse image search through some search engines where you can find out anywhere on the web that a photo that they've provided you has also been used. So that's important. Be cautious of love bombing, which occurs when a new love interest showers you with affection and compliments. So if they claim that it's destiny or fate that brought you together, or claim to love you after a short amount of time, that's a red flag. Also, be especially wary if you've just lost a loved one, because many times scammers study obituaries to find people who've recently suffered a loss. Talk to friends and family members about online relationships, even if the other person tells you to keep the relationship a secret. Don't send money to anyone you've met only online, even if you've developed a relationship. If you haven't met them in person, don't send them $1. And then again, be skeptical of the suspicious payment methods: gift cards, crypto, money orders, peer-to-peer payment systems, Western Union, MoneyGram, gift cards, or especially gift cards. These are the preferred payment methods for scammers. So if a stranger or a near stranger is asking you for payment in one of those methods, that's when you might as well run the other way.
We have also had children, grandchildren of older individuals who may have been out of the country or who are in trouble, try to scam individuals. I don't know if that's similar to romancing scams.
It's a slightly different scam, but it's true that they're both sort of imposter scams. They're telling someone about a story, about a biography that's just not true, or they're pretending to be someone else. So we do have a lot of grandparent scams or family emergency scams where the person telling you, asking you for money, is someone you already know, claiming to be in a crisis or in an emergency of some sort. So different kind of scam, but it's still relevant and prevalent around Ohio and the United States. We see lots of scam artists pretending to be your grandson or your granddaughter, may even know the name of the grandchild, may even have done some research on the family and who belongs to who. So don't be surprised if they may even be able to recite the grandson or granddaughter's name and address and things like that.
In addition to the romance scams, are there any other kinds of scams that are similar in nature that you want people to be aware of?
Well, the important thing is a lot of them fall into a big category that I'll just call imposter scams. And it's where someone's telling you a lie and trying to validate who they are by saying that they are your latest love, your grandchild, the IRS, the PayPal, there's a Social Security Administration. There's lots of big companies and big government organizations that these folks pretend to be with, and their scam will follow suit in terms of what they're asking for. One popular scam right now is the Social Security scam, where they call you up and say that your Social Security number has been used in the commission of a crime, and they're going to suspend your benefits if you don't call them back right away or give them money. Social Security is just not going to call you out of the blue. The IRS is not going to call you out of the blue. Neither is Microsoft or Walmart or eBay or any of these other companies. They simply don't have that kind of mode where they are just calling people over and over and over again asking for money. But the scams are alive, and so we want people to stay safe. And if you do get a scam, whether or not you've been scammed yourself, please report it to our office. The Ohio Attorney General's office is here working for you, and we want to help. So our website is ohioprotects.org, and our phone number is 800-282-0515, and that's the phone number for the help center of the Ohio Attorney General's office. If you have a scam to report, if you have a complaint against a legitimate company even, or if you have, we took nearly 23,000 complaints last year. Most of those complaints are consumer complaints about about companies that you may do business with. Not necessarily scams, but if you want to report an unwanted call, an unwanted robo-text, anything like that, give us a call or visit our website to find out more information about next steps to take.
There is a wealth of information that's available on the website.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of publications, flyers, booklets, all kinds of information on our websites, ohioprotects.org and ohioattorneygeneral.gov. So we've got flyers on identity theft, senior scams and consumer scams, cybersecurity, knowing your rights, things like that. And it's just a great source of information about how to stop scams and be careful of identity thieves that are out there trying to steal your personal information and your money.
One of the things that I found with Ryan and his group is that they're willing to come out if you have 20 or more individuals that want to learn more about what the services of the Attorney General's office has. And there's nothing wrong with doing Zoom if you have just a few participants. I found that Ryan and his colleagues are very knowledgeable. We're talking with Ryan Lippe. He's a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's office, Dave Yost. Ryan, thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity.